talk in this video about dimensions. So I've just been doing this the last few days. This is actually the piece from Scotland. So what was it called? The place in Scotland had the fairy pause, Fairy Glen. It was called the Glen, the place in Scotland, and basically I drew this bit at the bottom. This is where the stone circles was. And then I painted the bit in the background. I was going to do the links, but no, it's turned out a bit like this. So this is a charge of energy that I had the other day. And then I transmuted it into this. So you can see it was a bit shaky, and as I was getting a bit deeper in, I was still feeling a little bit stressed. So I just was turning it. And then when I do another layer on this when I'm more relaxed, then that layer will still shine through. So that energy I've captured there will still shine through the next more controlled layer. So each layer that I do, I can do in a different mood, and then each one will still show through where I want it to. So this one you can see is a bit smoother. This was when I did it on a better day. And then I added in the tree from my garden here. And then this one is a completely different energy that I was transmuting. So then it actually works quite well with the bottom layer, which is a bit smoother in comparison. And then when I do another layer on top of that, and that could be to a different genre of music if I want to as well. So you can see how complex the layers are from weaving in the dimensions. And that's how you compress different layers of colour into dimensions to create worlds, because artists create worlds. So I just want to talk about the dimensions now, because I've been getting, I've been seeing this for a while, but I'm going to try and put it in this video now of what is actually going on with this substances, with these, because we're hue, and all of this is made out of hue, and it's vibrating, and this is all minerals, and this is all chemicals. Some of it is pure minerals, but you know, I want to go back to the start, before language, before this, just talking about dimensions now, because everything is dimensional. And this is linking to all these billionaires and stuff, so let's talk about it. Because the way they're extracting these colours, right, actually, they're really expensive, and it's a really hard process to produce this paint. And this is what I've been studying and trying to find out, how they're doing this, because I want to create my own paint. Right, because when we create our own paint, yeah, and if we could create our own instruments, we can create our own civilizations, because we're actually applying for hemp licenses here at the moment as well. So I know quite a few farmers in this area, and there's a British Hemp Association, and they should be able to get licenses. So I'm just about to have Alan round later, and we're going to go through a few things and talk to a few farmers here. But they have revoked a few licenses already for a few companies in the UK. So, but we want to make it for, like, you know, cement, more self-sustainable. And then what are you creating from that? Dimensions. Again, this is what they're doing with all the minerals in the cities and that. When you look at Melissa's edit from Thoughts and Perceptions Out Loud, our editing channel, and she's got the atmospheric electricity, and then it's all the shape of the buildings again. I keep telling you, they're building the dimensions, right? So why is art worth billions, and why are these billionaires obsessed with art, and why are all the artists coming into all the paedophilia? Because when you look at us, we're created with dimensions. So now look at the Earth's filter system. We're going to look at Gaia's filter system in the subconscious right now. So view the Earth. What happens when people die? What happens when things die? They go into the ground decomposes it. Gaia has her own filter system and then spits it back out in another format. I'm on top of mounds and mounds of chalk right now, which is full of plasma, because it's bones and old sea things. And this is what Gaia's, you know, decomposing and spat out somewhere else. Or, you know, the lava will come out and then that will birth life because of the energy it holds. You know, so I could get anything in this room right now and I could ground it into something else, and then I could use it. But what properties does that hold? Because when you're looking at art, right, because I watched a program a long time ago when I was a bit younger, and it was about I was talking to Darren. By the way, thank you, Darren, for your comments the other day. Sorry, I know I picked your brain a bit, but I just wanted to see how far it could go. And then you did really well, and I'm actually really happy that you saw this, because he was saying, you know, why is art, because it's holding layers of energy, so it's crystallizing frequency. So, you know, it backs this side of the subconscious, and it bounces out. So it's holding certain energy. So, like, if they're doing ceremonies and things like that, yes, you are right. If they create art, then that art captures that energy. Yeah, so it's like holding memory. But all it is made out of is like spat out bits of Gaia. Because think about back in the day, before they had language, what was the first memory? What was the first memory? It was art, cave paintings. And then people would have passed on, but they still left memory through art. And anyone on earth would have been able to understand that. Anyone on the earth can understand the energy and frequency of this. I don't need to use language. So language is a separation, again, right? But the thing is, when I watched this program when I was younger, it was to do with ghosts and spirits and things like that. And what it was a grandma had passed on, and she had some paintings wrapped up in her cellar, and these kids got them out and they put them on the walls they reminded them of the grandma. And it wasn't painted by her, she'd inherited them or bought them or something. And they were actual spirits and demons, ghosts, whatever they perceived them as in 3D, coming through. So it was allowing entities to come through the painting, and it was because there was traces of blood left in the painting, and it had left an open portal. So whoever had painted the picture, whatever intent and they had put in, wherever the blood was from, had opened a portal. I've used my own blood in my art before. I have tried it. I have done it before when I've cut myself when I'm painting, and I've just added it in, you know. And I think sometimes it's happened where it's meant to have gone into some paintings that I've done, you know. And as I've been going around all these countries, all these places, you know, right now, every second that I'm breathing, there's someone on this earth looking at a piece of art that I've created, more than a couple of countries. So I've been going around opening portals. So what's in that paint? Because when I was in Cambodia, this necklace got ripped off my neck when I used some black paint, and it was the only painting I did with oil paint in a room I was doing, and something was ripped off my neck, this crystal, as I was painting it. And it was a black tree I'd done, and I don't like using black, but I'd used it in that painting, and it was oil paint. So was it the turpentine I was mixing with it? You know, because I use linseed oil at the moment, which I'm not too happy about because it's a bit gloopy, and I like using stuff that's a bit more water-like so I can get quicker marks out of it in my mark making. Now, so we know this opens portals to do with energy fields. So is it in the ether as I'm painting it? Am I creating an energy even in front of the canvas? So when the canvas is removed, is there still a vortex or a portal here within this space, even if I remove all this stuff, because of how much time I've spent putting energy just into this bit of air? Does that make sense? Because when I was going to festivals, and I was doing, you know, I said about the mirror world and projecting out, and I was using live music, there were things happening to the audience and the way people were reacting to me, and even a spot of them they didn't even know existed. Yeah, so there's more to all this. And when you think about Gaia's filter system, you know, like trees get petrified, so they turn into crystals. Everything is crystalline. Yeah, we're even made out of here. So how do you know? Well, actually I do know, because I have seen it, and I do see things when I get into this deep space, and I'm obviously using certain same things, because I'm adding chalk, which is bones, into the artwork. So that's dimensions of people that have been crushed down, so that's energy. Yeah, and it's plasma. So all this is dimensional, and this is all what's holding the plasmic field, the electromagnetic field, the grid systems. We need to start changing the shapes of all these things. That's what we need to start doing. And since I've started growing food and watching everything come from a seed, it's like its own alchemy. The seeds have their own consciousness, because some of them aren't growing up here, but when they're in a group, so this is one thing I'm learning about mirroring out of the earth now. Food grows better when it's in a group, like when it's together. So we would do the same, because this is all from Gaia. I'm listening to Gaia as I'm growing the food, and it's growing from a seed. It's growing from seed. So what alchemization is that? It's the sun, yes, it's the water, and then the plant grows out of that, but the information is within the seed, yeah? And then that's growing dimensions. So if I got this and more minerals and I brought it out into something that's more dimensional, you know, we're doing the same in our bodies. Everything here that's reproducing. It's like women have more chemicals and that in their body, and more different hormones and things like that to be able to produce dimensions. So that's within the womb. Yeah, that's within the womb that we're producing dimensions. But I'm producing dimensions here with the same kind of crystalline. So, you know, if I'm using proper minerals from the earth, that's the minerals that the womb's growing anyway. So it's the same. It's the same concept. So when you look at the cannibalism and all the things like that, you know, it's the same kind of concept. They're just absorbing a fresher form of crystallization because the soul is entering like a meat suit, basically. It's entering a meat suit, and then we've got the spirit, you know. But when you look at it all growing, it grows better in a group down there, is what I wanted to get into the farming. So the food, well, it's growing a lot quicker and thicker as a pack. As a pack. So this is why we've got the monad tribes and that meeting up in packs, because it's a lot stronger and it's like feels better and easier and quicker to grow. So the seed must have its consciousness, because when they're up here, they're not even growing, they're not even dispersing. And it must be because it doesn't feel safe, or not even safe, it must have its own awareness already. So everything is conscious, we already know this. We already know this anyway. So anyway, with the dimensions, like I'm saying, you don't know what they're using in these paintings. What I'm using in that, I don't even know what this is. But I know some paints when they make them, like the companies, and most of them are in Paris. Most of them are coming out of France, and we know what's going on with all the ley lines and that and that. But yeah, like I said, the Earth's filter system is really important to look at right now. This is what I'm seeing. I've been viewing it for ages and like examining it and watching it and how it's functioning, because it is its own being. It has its own auric field. You know, when we look at the galaxy and we look at, you know, how many different clusters there are of this and that, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger. It's fractalized. It's the same as the minimal as the maximum. You know, it just keeps coming in and out. So everything on this earth right now is living off the core of the earth, and it outside as well. It's like reflects in and out. It's its own alchemy. Everything is moving at the same time, vibrating hue. Yeah. So it's like Rudolph, the Tall White Alien video that we edited as well, with the sound frequency waves, when he says everything is wavelength. When you connect the fault, and then it goes into the subconscious, and then that manifests through frequency and sound waves in the magnetic field, then it's crystallized. This is why they're causing frequencies in the blood. They're like causing trauma and pain in the dimensions, yeah, to then crystallize it, so it then expands into us, because we're all connected in the subconscious. That's where the place we're all connected. Okay, so when you're sending out wavelengths, right, wavelengths, what is colour? When you look at colour, it's a wavelength. So everything is hue. So we're missing UV, we're missing purple. Purple is the colour of royalty, but it's not. When you see the colour on the rainbow, our lungs are purple. We shouldn't be wearing sun cream, but the mind is saying, oh no, it fears wearing it because we might get cancer, but we won't. Everything is a wavelength. So if you're looking at the crystallized form anyway, and it goes down to like, even like stainless steel and metals is like a denser form of crystal, because they've like smashed the crystals and it goes into that and then it loses more and more, so it's more dense. We need to actually be coming out of that and losing that. Yeah, and then back in the day, they used to make pigments from pure parts of the earth, and then they're creating dimensions with that. Because everything's just a different state of alchemized water. So if we go back to crystalline, that is plasma. We're going back to the more plasmic fields. So it's not like stopped, it's not, the wavelength is easier to get through the density. Yeah, so if we're more water, then we're able to carry more wavelengths, more hue. The more hue you carry, that creates gold, because crystal quartz creates gold. So it would be more of a condensed hue inside that would create gold. So if you're throwing more like hue through the subconscious, then your auric field would eventually become gold. Everyone needs to understand how to connect the layers, and like this is bringing the subconscious down to the physical. And then if I'm using the minerals, it's connecting it straight to the earth. But this is flat. This is flat, but I'm making it 3D. So if I just even if we use certain states of frequency and wavelengths, we could make them hover, and we could make them more like projection. It's the hologram. And then when you go on further and further, and that's what we're made out of. We're a hologram. It's more dense. It's more dense through the emotions. The more emotions you feel, that's why the Egyptians weighed the heart to see if it was light or not. Because the more you cry, the more you release, the more lighter and lighter you become. And the less dense you become, the heart, and the heart connects straight to the core of the earth. That's what everything on this plane is to affect the heart. That's the electromagnetic field. Since the human resonance has been going crazy, I told you about a Wi-Fi's bad up here. The Wi-Fi's bad up here. We've had so many people out. We've had Sky out. We've had 3 people from BT. Every time they've come, they've managed to get it up to a certain peak. It just keeps flickering. No one can fix the Wi-Fi up here because the earth dominates. That's the electromagnetic field. So that even shows that we're winning already. We're winning back the electromagnetic field. Because the earth's calling for it now as well. And her core must be linked with the purple ray, the hue. Because that's the quickest wavelength. So if you're using that, then you'd be able to send out faster, quicker, shorter, energies. That's why it's third eye, because then if you're thinking, you think a lot quicker than you can actually produce, because it's almost slowed down within the air. It's almost like dense within it. And that would be because of the level of plasma, the electromagnetic. It's like going into space and you move slow. It would be kind of the same thing with the wavelength out there, It's almost like drained the plasma out of it because of the electromagnetics they're already taking. They're stealing from our auric fields, from all the tech. Do you see what I'm saying? They've like dominated a field that we can't even actually see. But when you actually look, we've got to look at the filter system. And the way I'm watching all these things growing, I'm like definitely learning from the earth now of how her filter system is all working. And that's her energy going from that, So yeah, I'm going to carry on painting this now for a bit longer. I painted this picture already, but I just wanted to do it again in a different format because it showed me a lot of images last time of like a being rocking, and it was the same kind of frequency within it that I connected to. Like every time I do the line paintings, I said most of my messages come through in these. This always reminds me of the womb, and this one was showing me the Taurus field and like pushing down. So it's like this energy of pushing it down, and at this bit here. So I'm just doing this quite quickly, and I'm just going to keep going with it because it changes as I'm working, and then I'm going to try and read and see what comes out of it. But yeah, so we are applying for the hemp license, and a few things are starting to move here now. And obviously, I've been talking to Ben in Cambodia with the Flower Life Project, and he had a farmer take him up to 100 hectares in Cambodia, and this guy's 74 and he's never had one chemical in the whole of his land. 70 hectares is like over 100 acres, it's more than an acre. And he's got like 10,000 mango trees, coconuts, banana plantations, and he uses 1 bag of cow poo per tree every year. So you can see how that kind of works out there. And he actually heard about what we were doing out there, heard about Ben, like helping the School of Sustainability, and he's Khmer. So I told you China's taken over quite a lot out there. So he called up Ben and invited him over to the farm, was giving us loads of fruits and stuff like that, and said if you need anything we're going to help you. So, the people are sticking together no matter what country, what race you're from. If you're helping the earth, she will help us. So we just got to stick with her and just bounce everything out her core, keep the crystals on us, and just keep sticking to the subconscious. And creative energy creates emotion. If you create emotion and you're connecting to the subconscious, you're crystallizing in a magnetic field, which is overtaking the crystallization they're already embedding around this planet from the crust of the earth, because they're doing it into pure minerals already in the core. They're already in our crust. They're trying so many different techniques with the emotions, with the arts, with the dimensions, you know. They're doing things in these rituals and they're crystallizing it in the paintings, and then they're storing the paintings, because that is a whole web of energy within itself, just within these portals. They are portals to other dimensions. People got to start looking into that and realising what is going on. Because this is pure. Well, it's chemical at the moment. But when I start making these paints, even when they're mixing the paint, if you mix it for a 2-bit longer, it will turn a completely different colour. It's really, really like quite crazy when you look at what they're being made out of. But like I said back in the day, this is how everything would have started. Because then people would have passed and they wanted to leave memory on the walls. Then that would have progressed and rolled like a big snowball and a big boulder. And then that would have progressed into language, and then the Egyptians start leaving hieroglyphs, and then that's a language, and that produces... I mean, look at that, and then look at a printed text, black and white. Everyone reads the black and white text. Could everyone produce that the same? Even if I gave 100 million people the same image, it would never come out the same. So this is unique and individual, original. If everyone became original, everyone claims their own hue, their own auric field, their own gold, their own water. If we did that and connected up the web, it would shatter. Alright, I'm out anyway.